We can expect a miraculous change in our life by working the program of CODA. 2, as I make an honest effort to work the 12 steps and follow 12 traditions, I know a new sense of belonging. The feeling of emptiness and loneliness will disappear. 2, I'm no longer controlled by my fears. I overcome my fears and act with courage, integrity, and dignity. 3, I know a new freedom. 4, I release myself from worry, guilt, and regret about my past and present. I'm aware enough not to repeat it. 5, I know a new love and acceptance of myself and others. I feel genuinely loving, lovable, and loved. 6, I learn to see myself as equal to others. My new and renewed relationships are all with equal partners. 7, I'm capable of developing and maintaining healthy and loving relationships. The need to control and manipulate others will disappear as I learn to trust those who are trustworthy. 8, I learn it's possible to mend, to become loving, intimate, and supportive. I have the choice of communicating with my family in a way which is safe for me and respectful of them. 9, I acknowledge I'm a unique and precious creation. 10, I no longer need to rely solely on others to provide my sense of worth. 11, I trust the guidance I receive from a higher power and come to believe in my own capabilities. 12, I gradually experience serenity, strength, and spiritual growth in my daily life. There was a content maker, she asked ChatGPT AI, if you were Satan and wanted to stop a young woman from meeting her potential and filling her life's purpose, how would you do it? AI said, if I were Satan and wanted to stop a young woman from meeting her potential and fulfilling her life's purpose, I would target her mind, emotions, and surroundings to create a sense of self-doubt, confusion, and discouragement. My goal would be to keep her stuck, distracted, and disconnected from her true path, and here's how I would do it. 1, undermine her self-worth. I plant seeds of insecurity, making her constantly question her value. She would focus on her perceived flaws and weakness rather than her strengths and potential. By keeping her self-esteem low, she would struggle to believe she deserves success or happiness. 2, create toxic relationships. I'd encourage her to surround herself with negative, toxic, or manipulative people who drain her energy and undermine her dreams and discourage her from growing, whether through unhealthy friendships, romantic relationships, or even family dynamics. These people would keep her from focusing on her goals. 3, fuel the fear of failure and amplify her fear of failure, making her terrified of taking risks and trying new things. She would stay in her comfort zone, avoiding the challenges that would lead to growth. The fear of embarrassment or rejection would keep her from pursuing her purpose. 4, distract her with superficial goals. I would shift her focus away from her true calling by making her prioritize materialism, popularity, or external validation. She would chase after short-term rewards, money, status, appearance, while neglecting her inner development and long-term purpose. 5, instill a victim mentality. I'd encourage her to feel like life is happening to her rather than for her. By convincing her that she's powerless in the face of her circumstances, I'd keep her from taking control of her destiny. She'd blame external factors instead of seeing the power she has within herself to change her life. 6, create constant comparisons. I would ensure that she constantly compares herself to others, feeling inferior or jealous of their accomplished achievements. Social media would become a tool for self-criticism where she believes everyone is doing better than her. This would sap her motivation and make her feel like she's never enough. 7, promote perfectionism. I'd make her believe that anything less than perfect is not worth doing. She'd become paralyzed by the idea that she has to be flawless in every aspect of her life, whether it's her career, relationships, or appearance, leading to procrastination and stagnation. 8, I would discourage emotional healing. I'd make her avoid addressing her emotional wounds or past traumas, convincing her that healing is unnecessary or too painful. By keeping her unhealed, I'd ensure that old wounds and unresolved pain continue to hold her back and sabotage her future relationships and decisions. 9, fostering burnout and overwhelm. I would encourage her to take on too many responsibilities, causing her to spread herself thin and eventually burn out. By overwhelming her with stress, I'd keep her from focusing on her true purpose or making meaningful progress in any one area. 10, normalizing settling for less. I'd convince her that it's easier and safer to settle for mediocrity, whether in her career, relationships, or personal growth. She would believe that pursuing her dreams is too risky or unrealistic, so she'd settle for a life of comfort and conformity rather than pushing toward her potential. 11, fueling imposter syndrome. I would make her feel like a fraud whenever she achieves success, convincing her that she doesn't really deserve it. No matter how much progress she makes, she'd always feel like faking it and fear like she was faking it, and that there was this fear of being found out, which would hold her back from fully stepping into her power. 12, blocking her connection to intuition and faith. I would weaken her connection to her inner wisdom, intuition, or any spiritual guidance she might rely on by creating doubt in her own instincts or in a higher purpose. I'd keep her disconnected from the inner clarity she needs to make aligned decisions. And AI answers through these tactics. I'd aim to keep her in a cycle of self-sabotage, fear, and confusion. making it incredibly difficult for her to rise to her potential and fulfill her life's purpose. I wanted to share now, in doing this work, there was a meeting I went to in SLAA just to get more understanding about it, and we talked about characteristic number 5, which is about feeling empty and incomplete without another or others. So that's, it really speaks to the old program that intimacy and commitment has elements that might scare us. And I think in the past I had to bury rage, and there was this perfectionistic and performance highs, and I'll be unprepared for being challenged or provoked, and there was a sensitivity to disagreement because of the oppression and rejection of individuating during childhood. And I felt like I was taken for a fool, like my trust was betrayed, lied to. A friend of mine says we get tricked, and that I will get humiliated and bullied when I'm not anticipating it. And this is like a relating contact from outside, not directly with myself, even though lots of being on guard, and there's the sexual embarrassment and shame that comes because of doing so much to oneself to numb, but eventually caught up with me. And so staying busy to avoid the self is a way when we're trying to not let it catch up with us. We don't take the deep breaths or slow down, and holding in rigidity versus not stressing, not attached, one day at a time, keeping the body clean, taking walks, getting enough outside time, being friendly, looking for the best in everyone, and being afraid versus what I want, like doing what I want, and not running to the person, quote unquote person that we think, to make sure I still have a person, whoever that person is, every time I get triggered or feel ignored, rejected, abandoned, or degraded. And then in Mishna Sanhedrin 9, it says, in the case of a non-priest who performs a service in the temple, Rabbi Akiva says he's executed by strangulation, and the rabbis say he's not executed with a court-imposed death penalty, rather liable to receive death at the hand of heaven. And one who was flogged for violating a prohibition and repeated the violation and was flogged again assumes the status of a forewarned transgressor. The court places him in the vaulted chamber and feeds him barley bread until his belly ruptures due to the low-quality food, and he dies. With regard to one who kills a person not in the presence of witnesses and it's impossible to judge him in court, the court places him into a vaulted chamber and feeds him sparing bread and scant water. That's referring to a quote from Isaiah 30, verse 20. Regard to one who steals a kasa, and one who curses the sorcerer, and one who engages with intercourse with an Aramean woman, and the zealots strike him and kill him. Although the Torah doesn't say that one who performs one of these actions is liable to be executed, it's permitted for anyone who zealously takes vengeance of the Lord to do so. In the case of the priest who performed in the temple service in a state of ritual impurity, his priestly brethren do not bring him to the court for judgment. Rather, the young men of priesthood remove him from the temple courtyard and pierce his skull with pieces of wood. And the last part that I'll share, so that was, why did I bring up this priest thing? Because we're talking about this sense of this feeling incomplete, and we talked about codependency, and we talked about the Satan, the evil inclination. So we're saying, what would the Satan do? So here we were talking about, punishments that they would have when they felt that someone was doing something against on purpose. Like he was forewarned and he still did it. He couldn't control himself. So now Linda Tai talks about attachment even further. We're taking attachment here, codependency and all that, as cosmology, versus feeling like our level of attachment was predetermined by the first few years of life, like just your mother, your father. But actually Linda Tai says there's nature, and that's the seasons, the land, the seas, the sky, where our food comes from. There's the elders and ancestors, which is our bloodline, our professional ancestors, teachers, mentors, and the elements. Then we have 3, the culture. This is music, stories, language, movement, silence, food, laughter, rituals of human life. Then we have our bodies, which is 4, which is rest, play, work, body, body stops becoming utilitarian and instead becomes a place of pleasure and joy. 5 is time, understanding where your life, your family, and your cultural moment fits into the bigger picture of life on this planet. So how securely attached we feel depends on our level of connection in each of these areas. This is empowering because it gives agency to develop stronger bonds in each of these areas. Like if we could connect to our culture, our bodies, to time, to nature, to others, not just to a person, or not just to a specific behavior, not just to a role. Like here's a priest who's a priest, he is a priest, or here's someone who's not a priest, and it's like they're supposed to do what they're doing, but they can't do it. They're supposed to do it, but not in this way, or they weren't supposed to do that. Like it's the right thing that needs to be done, but not by that person, maybe. Anyway, that's all for today. Okay, bye.